Hey guys, what's up? It's Snake here, and we have somehow accidentally fallen inside of a giant arcade machine. So let's insert a coin and figure out what's going on. Well, actually, first, let's go ahead and recap everything we've done so far. So, we'll go in chronological order as opposed to the order of the maps. And so that takes us back to the year 1919 when three very, very strange groups decided to get together and pool their resources. And of course I'm talking about the men or lords of the Black Stone, which were witch hunters and believed in some sort of mountain goddess. The Vril Society, that's Thule, and Thule is actually a mythical place believed by some to be Atlantis, or some other sort of weird land just out of the reach of human ingenuity, I suppose you could call it. And they also believed that from this place, from Atlantis or Thule or wherever you want to call it, this Aryan race, this ancient Aryan race, or Nordic race, which lived throughout most of northern Asia, originated from, and they went off and began to live underground in these subterranean caverns or tunnels and caves, and that's where they live today. And it's actually believed by some that eventually they're going to run out of space down there and come out and take over the external world of the Earth. And these creatures, well, actually we'll get to these creatures in just a second. The third group to join up was the original Vril Society, and these are made up of women, mediums or witches, which is strange that the men of the Black Stone and the witches of the original Vril Society got along so well, but they did somehow. And these chicks, these ladies who were, I don't know, non-armpit shaving man-haters, they believed in the fact that we were originally from, or at least part of us, possibly the Aryan race, the superior Aryan race of old, were from this distant planet, way off, 65 million light years away, by this star known as Aldebaran, also known as the Way or the Star of Illumination. So possibly a connection to the Illuminati there. Maybe all of these three groups are all connected to the Illuminati somehow. But the Aldebaran star, which is set just in front of the Hades open star cluster, Hades, of course, the god of the underworld, and it is also known as the bull's eye, because it is the eye of the bull Taurus from the constellation. And it is one of the few stars in space that can actually be occulted by our moon, which means it's hidden behind, and during certain eclipses can actually be seen. That's where the Muslim image of the crescent moon and the star come from, is from Aldebaran. And so that's what they believed, we came from there. And like I said, it all connects to this Aryan race that's believed to be a subterranean culture who discovered this awesome power called Vril, and which is of course why the society chose the name Vril. This awesome power, this I don't even know, this telekinetic energy, this living organism almost. Is what it's seen to be. Is this consciousness is made up of two words, Vri, V-R-I, or Vri, or something like that, and then Il, I-L. And when you put the two together, they become like God, or godlike. So it's this godlike power that this Aryan race discovered, and so they became known as the Vrilia, or the beings that are like God, or something like that. Translation's very hard for me. But I was never good at languages at all. I did terrible in class. I only took Latin because it was at the girls' school across the street. Anyway, enough about that. So yeah, they discover this power, and this power gives them telekinetic powers, and they can use it with these staffs or rods that they have. to channel their energy, and they can use it for amazing good or great destruction. And these are the people that live under the ground, under these tunnels and caves and caverns underneath northern Asia. And just like the caverns we saw on the picture on the giant screen in 5 in the war room. So there's a possible connection there. Maybe the guys in America know what's going on, and they're trying to track down these Vrilia. So we got these 3 groups, and they all come together to make the larger Vril Society back in 1919. And their task is to run around and sort of research and search for this power across the world. And right around 1933 is when Hitler comes into power, and he's big in occultism, and he's connected to the Freemasons and the Illuminati. So he sees what's going on with the Vril Society, and he makes it illegal for secret societies to exist, therefore making it easier for him to allow his own personal secret societies, the Vril Society, to operate in secret, because according to law, they don't even exist. And so he starts throwing them money, and they go out searching for this power, and what else do they find but element 115? It's found in Russia, and at Groom Lake, and on the moon, and all these other places. So wherever they find it first, they eventually discover it to be also in Southeast Asia. And either possibly because of the Japanese progression into Southeast Asia, or who knows what, they actually started invading parts of China back in 1936. So this ties in with Hitler becoming aware of the Vril Society back in 1933. And so this is right around the time Hitler decides to create Group 935, or at least someone working for Hitler decides to create Group 935 under the leadership of Dr. Maxis. And of course they go in and they take the element 115 from Southeast Asia, and they discover the plans for the ray gun. And so Group 935 is given the is decided to be exclusively working with terrestrial applications of the element, because as I talked about in Kino, the Vril Society, aside from just searching for this power, is planning on using it to create flying saucers, to create ships, in order to make their way back to this planet off by Aldebaran, or Aldebaran, the star out there, the bullseye, the star of illumination. And that's where they want to get back to. So they're working on these spaceships, and Group 935 is working on weaponry. Now, Group 935 has Dr. Maxis, of course, and the Illuminati send in their own spy to keep an eye on what's going on with Group 935. So if we assume that the Illuminati are directly connected to the Vril Society, this may be seen actually as a way for the Vril Society to be keeping check on what Hitler's doing, off in the distance at Derice and at the other 935 facilities. So we've got Maxis, we've got Richthofen. They're working on all these weapons. They create the ray gun, the pack-a-punch machine, the DG2, all that other fun stuff. And of course, throughout the process of working with the element, we discover, or that is, they discover, that they can reanimate dead flesh. So they discover zombies. Now, Maxis and Richthofen decide that they need to figure out a way to control the zombies. Now, to speed through this a little bit, Richthofen's working with living people. So he's got Nikolai, which came from possibly came from the Tunguska explosion or crash site, and Takeo, which most probably came from Shinonuma. And then there's also a Mexican who gets killed as Richthofen is searching for the trust barrier, which I believe to be the metaphysical barrier, so to speak, that he must break through in order to create a feasible mind control serum, or possibly some sort of way to mind control living people. And of course, the Mexican gets killed and he gets Tank Dempsey, but we'll get back to Tank in just a second. Now, at the same time, Maxis is working on using Sam and her telekinetic powers. Again, remember the Vril telekinesis, So he's working with Sam's telekinetic powers to control the dead bodies of the zombies, because they no longer have a mind and they no longer fight against her mind control. Because if we look at Peter and Maxis and Yuri and all of these people that she started talking to and driving insane, eventually they do go insane, and she's no longer able to keep control of them because they keep fighting against it, and eventually they either kill themselves or get killed by her in some way, or the zombies come and attack when they're no longer useful to her. So that's what's kind of going on at Derice. Now, at the same time, the Americans are getting in on it by sending in spies to Group 935. Now, like I've said before, I believe, and of course we can kind of see notes or hints of this in 5, that the Americans are connected with the Illuminati. Not directly, but the Illuminati has control over certain people in America and in the U.S. government and military, just like some of the presidents were Freemasons, just like Hitler, and the Freemasons and Illuminati being connected, possibly even being the same exact thing. So, of course, I'm hinting at JFK being part of the Illuminati, or at least a lower part of the Illuminati. So when they send over Peter and Harvey, it's very possible that they are spies directly from the Illuminati, but sent from America to sort of be I don't know, some way to disguise the fact of where they're directly from. So they're sent over and they're working on weapons with Group 935. Harvey is working at Vorkuta originally and then is sent to Shinonuma after an outbreak. Peter comes in and he goes to Vorkuta, and that's where he starts going crazy from Sam, and the Americans lose contact with him. So that's when Tank and four other Marines are sent in because of the loss of contact with Peter. Now the question is Tank part of the Illuminati as well? Because we know Richtofen is sent in by the Illuminati and eventually must kill Maxis. So the question is Tank sent in to be that for Richtofen? Are they worried that eventually Richtofen is just going to be too crazy to control, and once Richtofen's done everything he needs to, because he's clearly the most intelligent person that we have, albeit the most insane, is Tank programmed, programmed subconsciously to kill Richtofen at the right moment? Now again, this is just speculation, but the question I think does need to be asked. So they lose contact with Peter. Tank and four other Marines are sent in. They crash at Knockdown Toten, where the pilot is immediately killed, and they hold up at Knockdown Toten long enough to kill enough zombies to break through the forest and get to Vorkuta, where they discover all the crazy writings. The other 3 Marines are killed, and Tank is discovered that he's immune to element 115 and therefore brought to Richtofen just as planned, that is, if he's sent in there on purpose, just as planned, to replace the Mexican. So now we have all 4 characters. We've got Richtofen and the other 3 characters, and it's time for Richtofen to kill Maxis. So the Illuminati sends him a note. He reads the note, and he runs off, and it just so happens at this exact time they're testing Fluffy. So Maxis is creating Fluffy, turning him into into a hellhound on accident, of course, with the teleporters. And Richtofen seizes this moment to both kill Maxis and Sam. But what's actually happening is Sam is taken into this sub-dimension and is now given complete control over all of the zombies. Maxis possibly is either dead or fused with Sam's consciousness, fueling Sam's hatred towards the players. Now after this, we have to run off and we have to get the DG2 for some reason. So Richtofen takes us after we've lost our memories through his experiments, possibly because he has figured out how to break past that trust barrier. And of course we know the trust barrier is not in the spleen, so it clearly must be somewhere else, and possibly Richtofen has discovered this. So Richtofen now has control over us, takes us to Shinonuma to get the DG2, brings us back to Derice to pack-a-punch it, and then we leave Derice and go to Kino. And we're supposed to go to Kino to pick up something else. I believe we're going there to pick up Die Glock as well as his journal. but we accidentally travel in time and go to the future. And it's in the future that we discover that both Die Glocke and the journal are no longer there, because during the time we were gone, the war had been done with, and both the Russians and the Americans came in and took all of the stuff. Hans Kammler made a deal with the Americans and gave us the Die Glocke, the DG-1, and the Russians picked up what's his name, Harvey Jena. And so all of this stuff is being split up, and through the process, the Americans create Majestic 12 in order to research more zombies and figure out how to, fix the teleporters and create the Winter's Howl and all of this other stuff. And the Russians create the Ascension Group, and they figure out how to make the lunar lander and the Gersch device and the Casimir mechanism and all of this stuff. So we get there, we get to Kino, that is, and there's nothing there, nothing we need. So what happens next? Well, I believe what's happening next is that Richthofen is actually still in contact with the Illuminati, and so he discovers A, what year it is, and B, where his journal is. So he then leaves with us from Kino to go to Ascension to pick up his journal, and we happen to accidentally run into Gersch, who is trapped in the subdimension along with Sam. And so we use the Casimir mechanism along with the Gersch device to open the doorway fully to allow him to pass on to the next dimension and not be trapped any longer in the subdimension with Sam. And then from here we have to go on to continue to pick up more pieces. Obviously, we're in contact with the Illuminati, so we know the Illuminati knows where we need to go to next. And therefore, Richthofen knows where we need to go to next. Now, at the same time as Ascension, 5 is going on. And so what we're learning in 5 is that there was a spy over in America at the Pentagon thief, and he was obviously a Group 935 spy. But after the fall of the Third Reich, he decided to just stay with the Americans and continue to work on the Winter's Howl, which is the weapon he created and the whole reason why he chases after us in the first place. So I guess the question here now is, what does all this crazy shit have to do with the Vril Society and Aldebaran and the Vrilia underground? Well, I guess in order to find that out, we're probably going to have to travel to somewhere in northern Asia. Possibly Siberia? Anyway, enough about that. Let's get back to Dead Off, shall we? Well, a couple things I find interesting about this place. One, these 4 characters don't seem to be our 4 characters. And one of the big reasons why I think this too is the fact that there's no weird voice, Sam voice. I mean, when there are drops and things like that. So it's possible that something else is controlling these zombies that are still connected with our zombies, but it's not directly Sam, because Sam's not chasing these 4 people down, she's chasing our 4 people down. So maybe all of these zombies are actually being controlled by the gorilla, the Cosmic Silverback, because it does seem like the Cosmic Silverback has some sort of high intelligence, because he's actually able to teleport at will, unlike the dogs that just pop into teleporting and then pop out or die or whatever we do to them. But the Cosmic Silverback can actually seem to find a place, teleport from where he is to there at will, like actually choose the place that he teleports to. So that seems kind of interesting that he somehow has this crazy intelligence, either because of 115 or because of experiments done to him at the Ascension Group before he was sent into space and came in contact with the element. Who knows? The other interesting thing is we meet 2 new zombies in this map. One is this red slow-moving zombie that explodes into a fiery pit whenever we get too close, and the other one is a white zombie that runs really fast and screams at us. I wonder if we'll ever see them again. Anyway, the last thing I'm going to leave you with is this. Of course, there's a bunch of different scenes in here that look like maps we know, like Shangri-La or Summit, stuff like that, but there's one in particular that looks like Vorkuta. That seems really strange. It seems almost like they're really trying to tie in that storyline to the zombie storyline, as if the prisoners were actually digging in Vorkuta for Element 115. And what happens when a bunch of people come into contact with Element 115? That's right, the zombies have a prison break. And that looks like I just died, so that's going to be it for me today. Peace out, guys.